Hello Booktube, it's Lina from Beating Around the Books, and I'm trying to do something new today. I am in somewhat of a reading slump. I'm still listening to audiobooks every so often, although at the moment I also feel quite inclined to DNF some of those. And I'm very, very slowly trying to read a former buddy read that everyone else but me has already finished, like around 3 weeks ago. But what I want to try is to, I don't know, shake myself out of this reading slump by trying different approaches in the hopes of, I don't know, building some kind of momentum, or I don't know, like getting more used to making regular time for reading before getting a headache, you know. So we had a second bout of COVID in this house. Fantastic. Just getting over that, finally testing negative. But I've also had really bad headaches, blah blah blah. So I've read even less than in other times or whatever in the recent past. So anyway, this is supposed to be some sort of a vlog situation. We're gonna go out today because it is boiling hot in here, and it's actually nicer outside because we live underneath the roof and we've had too many days of heat. Even though I've been trying very, very hard to keep the heat out, it is kind of here and we can barely air the place out enough at night to get it cool off. Anyway, we're going to some sort of to a indoor market thing. Maybe I'll film something, I don't know. It might look nice, it might not. We'll try. We're trying new things because I've been cooped up in here for 9 days now. Yeah, 9 I think. So yeah, I'm gonna try, I don't know, live life outside of these 50 square meters for once. Okay, so quickly I'll just explain the books that I've chosen to try this out with. So I have decided to try out whether short-ish, shiny new bauble books might do the trick, or whether finishing books that have been on my TBR, not on my TBR, that have been on my currently reading forever, might, I don't know, be the other way to go about it, like to give me some sense of accomplishment. So let's start with the books that I have started whenever and never finished. So the first one is, I guess, that buddy read, Another Country by James Baldwin. It was a buddy read with Roz from Skallydandling About the Books, Courtney Ferriter and Mark Nash. As I said, they all finished it. They obviously contributed a lot more to the discussion than me because I only kind of managed to be on track really in the first week, kind of, and then fell behind. Which is weird because the writing is obviously beautiful and he's a wonderful writer, but well, there's not a lot of characters to like, or really any. And it has some lengths, but I think one of the major issues is it's got this tiny, tiny print, and there's barely any, like, what's it called? Anyway, tiny print. Apparently the other people who read this have newer editions, and their editions are like nearly 100 pages longer than mine, so yeah, this is kind of not helping, but I feel like it would still feel good to finish it, and I've only got 80 pages left. Whatever that translates to in a, you know, more pleasant layout, maybe 100? Who knows? So that's the one. Then we have Seeing Red by Lina Meruane. I read her Nervous System last year and loved it. It may have been my favorite book of the year. Oh yeah, I also missed out doing a top 10, didn't I? Well, anyway, it was definitely in the top 10. I started reading this also as a buddy read with Mark Nash and I got to page 33. This is very short though, and I love her writing style, so who knows. However, it might be quite depressing, so I'm not sure if I'm in the right headspace for that. So we'll see. Although another country is also quite depressing. And then my longest currently reading is Don DeLillo's White Noise. I started this in 2020 in the summer, so just under 2 years ago. I got to roughly 100 pages of, I think, 300. I did not put this down for lack of enjoyment. The only reason was that I lost momentum, because this was the last book I picked up on holiday, but I didn't finish it on holiday. And then for some reason, coming back from holiday always does this to me. And then the 3 shiny baubles. They are not all super new, like newly acquired, but they still have shiny new bauble syndrome for some reason. And by the way, in case you hadn't noticed, I think I've mentioned it, it's hot. And I can't have the fan on in here when I'm filming. I need to get out of this house. Okay, so first is Fernanda, Trias, The Rooftop, which has been translated by Annie McDermott. So I bought this rather blindly, like just from the blurb, because Charcoal Press were doing a sale. I'd never had any of their books, but I'd heard of several of their titles that were interesting, one of which is Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro. This sounded right up my alley, and it is really, really short. I'm not going to read the blurb because that's boring. It's got 112 pages, so if you really should not be doing the page 112 tag with this one, because you might spoil something for yourself. The other one, that's probably the shiniest new bauble, is what turned up in my second-hand bookshop book haul, Adibas by Zaza. I do not know how to pronounce these names. Zaza, Burchuladze. I do not know. Anyway, translated by Guram, Sanikidze. Seriously, I need somebody to tell me how you pronounce these Georgian names. I think I read the blurb to you guys before. It sounds quite fascinating. And then the last one, this is far too long. The last one is Leanne, Betasamosake, Simpson's Noopiming. This has been featured quite prominently on Brian's channel, Bookish. I'm sure he's mentioned it several times, which is what sold it to me. And well, Brian and Mark Nash sold it to me, but I think more so Brian, for once, because I feel like half of my book purchases are influenced by Mark Nash for some reason. Anyway, this I've also had for quite a while, potentially, yeah, I think I bought it last year, but it still somehow hasn't lost its shiny new bauble attraction, even though clearly I haven't picked it up. One reason may be that it's very, very unconventional, which is what attracted me to it in the first place, but it also means that I always sort of think, ooh, I need to, you know, have my full cognitive capacity ready to use to start reading this, and I have not felt like this in quite a while. So we'll see. We're obviously not going to read all of these, right? Then I may as well never attempt to finish this video, but we're gonna have a look at what is calling out to me. So for this trip, I'm not going to take them all. I'm going to take just the slimmest ones, and we'll see if any of those spark joy. Oh my god, no. Any of those spark my reading love or whatever. Oh my god, it is so hot. Apologies. Okay. Maybe next time I will speak to you, it'll be outside. Although probably not, because I'll be self-conscious. So this used to be the Gestapo, I don't know, the central Gestapo building. It used to be a hotel before that, and now it's a museum. Let's go and donate some books. So cute. Hi BookTube. It is a lot later now, and apologies for the background noise. The fan is on, but it's too bloody hot in this flat. I hope that this will work and that it isn't too loud. But anyway, yeah, we've been out all afternoon. It was boiling hot and very humid, which is why I'm super tired and feel disgusting. But anyway, I think I'll have to have a second shower. So my little experiment so far seems to have worked to an extent. I picked up Rooftop in the end, Rooftop by Fernanda Trias, and so this is probably the shortest on my list, right? And so now I have read just over half of it, which, you know, it's not too difficult because it's it's only 112 pages. So I read like 60 pages, 58. Anyway, this is very, very enticing, I must say. The first page already is like really sort of, it really draws you in because it seems, you know, slightly mysterious and dark, and sort of, you're like, ooh, how did we come to this, you know, to this situation? Anyway, so it's about a young, I think young woman, youngish woman named Clara, who, this is from the first person, who is living in a sort of dilapidated flat with her ill or ailing father, a canary, and her young, very young sort of baby slash, or maybe possibly toddler daughter. And it seems really dark. It sounds as if possibly in the first, sort of on the first page, it sounds as if her father and her daughter may have died, but it's not 100% clear. It's sort of alluded to. And then we kind of go backwards, and she talks about, you know, what led up to this situation. And it seems as if she is keeping her father captive slash taking care of him after he's had a sort of he's suffered a rather traumatizing loss. So we don't know, but it seems like she's probably herself suffering from some kind of psychosis, but it's all, you know, it's all just alluded to, and there's just enough sort of information missing for you to like just keep turning the pages, right? But yeah, it seems rather dark, and it doesn't look like it's going to turn out good in whatever way. But yeah, very, very gripping, I would say. And what I found really interesting is that this was published originally 20 years ago, no, 2001, and the author at the time was only 25. This is her debut novel, or this was her debut novel. This is the first one that's been published in English translation, and I think it's like really, really well written. It's really sort of, how do you say, it's like taut and precise, and yeah, really hope that there's going to be more translations of her later work. The other thing I found really interesting is just very random, but like I said, the first page is incredibly captivating, and I thought the first sort of two sentences, or I guess the second sentence, is really gripping, where you're like, ooh, okay, tell me more. But then the same can be said for the last sentence on the page, or the last very, very short paragraph on the page. And I was just looking through a few of the reviews of the book, even though I haven't finished, but, you know, whatever. And one of the reviews mentions that that sentence, that last one on this page, had originally been planned to be the first. And I thought, yes, because I had that kind of feeling where it's not just the first paragraph is really gripping the whole page, but because in this case then we have these two really gripping paragraphs right at the beginning and at the end, and it made so much sense. I don't know, it was just an interesting little tidbit, because I don't usually think about first pages being gripping. I don't know. Anyway, let me stop rambling. So this has been quite successful so far, because I actually, I read probably the first 10 pages whilst I was out, because like I said, I was out with my husband, so I wasn't gonna sit there for an hour and read. But yeah, the first 10 pages were gripping enough for me to go home and immediately continue. I'll probably read more of it now, which means I might actually finish it tonight because it is so short. In other news, on our trip, I did come across a sort of one of those, how do you say this, like city quarter festivals that are popping up everywhere in the summer here. And this one, for some reason, I've never been to, even though I've been doing it for nearly 10 years. And it was really rather a charming area as well, where somehow I also never really make it to. And they had, there was one little flea market thing that was sort of for charity. And they had a lot of books there. And, well, I would have liked to have a look, have more of a look, but my husband was getting a little bit impatient, and in fairness, it was very hot. So I just picked up 2 books, and I asked them what they wanted, and they said, oh, €1, as in not €1 per book, but €1 or whatever, or maybe $1.50, whatever you have. I got these really old copies. One is a poetry collection by Erich Kästner. Erich Kästner, you know, probably best known for his children's books, but he has also written poetry and novels for adults. I have talked about him before. One of those Berlin writers of the, I guess, 30s, potentially 20s, whose books were obviously banned under the Nazis and burned. And yeah, anyway. This is a poetry collection that was first published in 1932, and I think I only have one other poetry collection by him, so I thought, oh, may as well pick this up, right? And then we have one other very random book. It's Elias Canetti's Der andere Prozess. So it's, what is it called in English? Yeah, The Other Trial. It's Kafka's letters to Felice. I don't know if it's Felice or Felice, I don't know. Anyway, so it's sort of Canetti's thoughts on how what is it called in English? The trial is sort of a consequence out of this process that he can see within the letters between Franz Kafka and Felice Bauer. I've heard of this book quite often when I was looking up stuff about Kafka, and I also have very randomly read some Canetti, which was probably in my very pretentious 18-year-old phase, I think. Definitely I did buy it when I was a teenager still. I bought The Human Province. Do not ask me why. because it was just a random thing. I saw it in the bookshop and I bought it based on the blurb, which seems weird now for like a teenager to buy. But I did appreciate some of this, although surely it also made me think like, yeah, you're really not as clever as you think you are. But because of that, I thought it might be very interesting to read somebody like Canetti's thoughts on Franz Kafka's writing. And, you know, if you can pick it up for less than €1, go and do that. Anyway, I also donated 3 other books to a bookshop that is doing some charity stuff, blah blah blah. So yeah, donated 3, came home with 2, but well, why not? Hi Burchu, it's the next day. I have finished the Rooftop. I wanted to finish it last night, but I got very tired, and I think I fell asleep maybe like 15 pages before the end or something like that. Anyway, something like that. Not because it's boring, but yeah, I was just exhausted. It's sort of post-COVID and heat-related tiredness, something like that. Anyway. This was very good and very disturbingly dark. Like I did say before, it didn't bode well for any of these characters, and that's exactly what you get, I guess. It was not a perfect read for me, although I'm not sure if I can pinpoint exactly why right now. Yeah, this is a ridiculous it's a useless video, I guess, but yeah, so it was a 4-star read for me for now. Maybe I'll be able to reflect on it more and be able to express the reasons for it better, but definitely want to see more of Fernanda Trias' work translated, since, you know, this is 21 years old, and it was her debut, so I would love to see what else she's written. This was the first one, I think I said this right, this is the first one that's translated into English, so I might have a look if I can find anything in translation in German. Who knows? I mean, certainly, you know, the German market does have more translations than the English language market, so might be lucky. You know, the Claudia Pinheiro book that recently came out, Elena Knows, was translated in 2008 or 2009 in Germany. So we'll see. I will have a look. So yeah, 4 stars, very dark and very well written. Since then I've started reading this, wait, what's it called again? The Place of Scraps by Jordan Abel. This is very interesting. I don't think I can read it in one go. It's poetry, but it's how do you say this? Do you call it erasure poetry? So he uses a text by, what's his name, Marius Barbeau, who was like who was an anthropologist in the 20th century, who studied like First Nations cultures, and he uses pieces from that text, and through erasure makes poetry, obviously. Jordan Abel himself is indigenous, how do you say this, Native American from the Nisga'a tribe, and I heard about him from Fraser Simon's Springboard Thought, although the book that I wanted to get is called Nisga'a or Nisga'a. I'm not sure if it's, well, it's an S only, but I heard somebody else pronounce it with a sh, so apologies if it's wrong, but I couldn't get it. I've had it on sort of a you know, watch list for months and months and months. It's, you know, it's out of print, it's poetry, maybe it'll never come back into print, and then I just sort of had a look around for other books by him, other poetry collections, and you know, he's got a few out, and then this one just turned up in the UK for a rather affordable price, so I just went with that. And also Eurasian poetry just sounds incredibly interesting, right? So it's in a way sort of how do you say this, like appropriating the appropriator, or maybe sort of exposing the colonial mindset within the text of this anthropologist, and showing, you know, sort of the loss that has occurred through colonization. And yeah, it's fascinating, but I've not read all that much yet. I mean, I've gotten to page 45 or so. Obviously there's not all that much text here, so you know, it could be a quick read, but because it feels like something where you really want to spend quite a bit of time reflecting and interpreting these sort of texts that have come out of these bauble descriptions of his salvage and anthropology endeavor. Anyway, so I've started that. That's obviously not a novel for me to read through. I feel like this shiny new bauble thing worked quite well. I still don't feel enticed to pick up anything of the old ones that I've had sitting around. So I have now got to choose which next one I want to read. Again, we're sticking with new-ish, or you know, new enough to excite me, and very thin. And then there's a few other characteristics, like maybe not too depressing, although the Rooftop was quite depressing. But yeah, so I've got these three. Adibas I already mentioned. That was the Georgian novel, potentially in short stories, which theoretically should be the one that entices me the most, but I read the first chapter or the first two, and that also, you know, seemed rather bleak, so I'm not sure if that's what I'm up for. Again, sorry for the noise. This time it's not the fan, this time it's this mini thing whirring around, but you know, I'm already sweating even with this thing on. So yeah, talk to you later. Hi BookTube. A few days have passed since the last update on this vlog. I realized that it's already quite long, because I started editing the previous stuff earlier, so I don't want to make this continue too much. Only one little update. I ended up starting to I cut out a few of the options that I had talked about, because the whole thing was getting too long. I started reading the Georgian second-hand book I found in London. It's called Adibas. I'm sure you've seen it just previously. I read the first 2 chapters, then put it down because, well, both chapters, they may be from the same perspective, or they may be from 2 different men's perspectives. They were, however, quite misogynistic, or maybe not misogynistic. No, I think they were. So there was a lot of sort of objectifying women. Now, I've not decided to DNF it yet, because who knows, this may also be done for a reason, you know, to make a point of some sort, which might become clear later on. But in that moment, I did not feel like continuing to read it. And instead chose something that I had not chosen as any option in this video so far, because such is the nature of shiny new baubles. Because I sat down here and I was looking over some of the books that are on this end of this bit of the shelf, because some of those are very, very new. Yeah, not all of them, but some of them are very, very new. And then this one really, really called out to me. Gospodinov's Time Shelter. What's his first name? Oh yeah, Georgi Gospodinov's Time Shelter. This was translated by Angela Rodel, or I don't know what her name, I mean, it sounds very German, maybe it's Angela Rodel, who knows. But yeah, so this is originally in Bulgarian. I think it was published this year, or at least the edition I have was published in this year. So I think in the UK it only came out this year, or maybe last. But I seem to remember seeing that it was published in 2020 in the US. Anyway, I had heard of Gospodinov on Mark Nash's channel, surprise, surprise. However, he hadn't actually read this. He'd read 2 other books that also sounded fantastic. One was The Physics of Sorrow, and the other one was, oh, I can't remember now. I think that it was something with novel in its title. Anyway, they both sounded fantastic, so I'd already noted down his name to sort of, you know, look into at some point. And I randomly stumbled upon this one when I was looking for other books, and it sounded fantastic, so I decided to go with this one instead of, you know, go rogue instead of going with one of the ones that came recommended. So far, that was a fantastic choice. I think you can see that I've tabbed quite a bit of it. I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm roughly halfway through. I don't tab things that I hate normally. So I've even somehow managed to color coordinate my tabs, which I never do. So there's like certain things that I liked, where I just like the ideas in general, and there's some where there's sort of metafictional elements or metafictional commentary that I found particularly amusing or put in a sort of rather interesting way. And then the last color is, I think, ideas that really resonated with me in a way that is more personal than the other ideas that I just liked. Whatever. I didn't think this through beforehand. It just sort of happened organically. So what is this about? This is, like I said, it has metafictional elements. So the narrator of this book is also an author, and he mentions a character named Gostin, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, who is a character that has appeared in Gospodinov's previous work, and the narrator, he speaks about this figure as a as a character that stemmed from his imagination. So in a way, we could say the narrator, well, at least masquerades as Gospodinov, or if it's not him, well, he's very closely modeled on him, I guess. But it's obviously not him. Does that make sense? Yeah, I hope so. And Gostin is sort of an enigmatic person that he invented to put certain things into his mouth that he didn't want to just sort of state blankly and straightforwardly in a book. And Gostin opens up a clinic for the past. There's a house that he is, well, whatever, a clinic of some sort in, I think, does he start in Switzerland? I think it was in Switzerland, where they sort of deck out individual rooms to imitate a specific decade. Obviously also a decade depending on, you know, the geography. It starts off as an idea to help Alzheimer patients, sort of give them a bit more happiness, because they speak about how Alzheimer patients usually, obviously, they lose their memory, but most of the memory they lose is usually the sort of more recent stuff and the short-term memory. However, sort of a lot often they'll have very vivid memories of their childhoods, you know, things that are, I don't know, decades in the past. So this is sort of a way of transporting Alzheimer patients into the past, where they, well, at least arguably, seem to have a better time. And then on top of it, apparently sometimes this tends to trigger the patient being able to access more memories than they had been able to before. However, so this sort of expands, this idea takes root in sort of the general public, and at some point then this medical treatment of sorts becomes, or maybe this sort of, recreation of history becomes political, because more and more people are trying to sort of, access these services to kind of escape from the present, until at some point sort of whole countries are how do you say this? Holding referenda, is that the plural of referendum? To decide which decade they would like to live in. So, I mean, you can see maybe that some of this is rather thinly veiled metaphor for maybe, how do you say this? The rise of populism within Europe, obviously Brexit, although, I mean, that's not even thinly veiled. Brexit is mentioned in here. I don't know, to some people that may be too on the nose, others might be really into it. However, so far I'm really enjoying it, because I like the sort of the metafictional elements, and I also very much appreciate the thoughts and ideas around time, memory, the senses, and how they bring back certain memories more than some other senses maybe, and aging and death. Yes, slightly depressing sometimes, but yeah, definitely a good choice, because I feel like this is definitely, how often can I say that word? I feel like this has really helped get me out of the reading slump, as well as the Rooftop before that. And I said depressing. I don't think that this whole book is depressing. The tone is sometimes quite sort of it's quite witty sometimes, and irreverent at others. Yeah, there's this very sad bits in here, let's put it that way. As you can imagine, if we're talking about Alzheimer's sufferers and people who are nearing the end of their lives. I'm looking forward to going on with this, and now I need to cut this rambly bit to some sort of length so that the vlog isn't ridiculously long. I know it will be long. Anyway, so I'm gonna stop here. I think the experiment worked well. We don't know yet whether any of the old books that I've started would have done the same trick, because I didn't feel compelled to read them. But I guess if I didn't feel the urge to do so, maybe this was the right way to go. Yeah, I hope you... Oh my god, I don't know. If you're still here, thanks very much for watching my endless rambling. Maybe you found a book that you would like to read. If so, do let me know. And or if you've read any of these authors and other books by them, that would also be cool and interesting to hear about. And whether or not you have any remedies for a reading slump, just in case this one doesn't work anymore the next time around. Yeah, again, thanks for putting up with this. I think I have learned that I am not good at vlogging, but it was still fun to try. So have a lovely day or weekend or whatever, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.